Hi again. In Compelling Reason, the essays pulled together by Walter Hooper from various essays over decades by C.S. Lewis. This is from 1941, The Foundation of 20th Century Thought, which he calls Bulverism, a name of his own invention. He goes on, I find the fruits of his discovery, that is Bulvers, this fantastic man, almost everywhere. Thus I see my religion dismissed on the grounds that the comfortable parson had every reason for assuring the 19th century worker that poverty would be rewarded in another world. Well, no doubt he had, Lewis says. On the assumption that Christianity is an error, I can see easily enough that some people would still have a motive for inculcating it. I see it so easily that I can, of course, play the game the other way round by saying that the modern man has every reason for trying to convince himself that there are no eternal sanctions behind the morality he is rejecting. For Bulverism is a truly democratic game in the sense that all can play it all day long, and that it gives no unfair privilege to the small and offensive minority who reason. But of course it gets us not 1 inch nearer to deciding whether, as a matter of fact, the Christian religion is true or false. That question remains to be discussed on quite different grounds, a matter of philosophical and historical argument. However, it were decided that the improper motives of some people, both for believing it and for disbelieving it, would remain just as they are. I see Bulverism at work in every political argument. The capitalists must be bad economists because we know why they want capitalism, and equally the communists must be bad economists because we know why they want communism. Thus, the Bulverists on both sides. In reality, of course, either the doctrines of the capitalists are false, or the doctrines of the communists, or both. But you can only find out the rights and wrongs by reasoning, never by being rude about your opponent's psychology. Until Bulverism is crushed, reason can play no effective part in human affairs. Each side snatches it early as a weapon against the other. But between the two, reason itself is discredited. And why should reason not be discredited? It would be easy, in answer, to point to the present state of the world. But the real answer is even more immediate. The forces discrediting reason themselves depend on reasoning. You must reason even to bulverize. You are trying to prove that all proofs are invalid. If you fail, you fail. If you succeed, then you fail even more, for the proof that all proofs are invalid must be invalid itself. The alternative, then, is either sheer self-contradicting idiocy or else some tenacious belief in our power of reasoning, held in the teeth of all the evidence that Bulverists can bring for taint in this or that human reasoner. I'm ready to admit, if you like, that this tenacious belief has something transcendental or mystical about it. What then? Would you rather be a lunatic than a mystic? So we see there is justification for holding on to our belief in reason. But can this be done without theism? Does I know involve that God exists? Everything I know is an inference from sensation, except the present moment. All our knowledge of the universe beyond our immediate experiences depends on inferences from these experiences. If our inferences do not give a genuine insight into reality, then we can know nothing. A theory cannot be accepted if it does not allow our thinking to be a genuine insight, nor if the fact of our knowledge is not explicable in terms of that theory. But our thoughts can only be accepted as a genuine insight under certain conditions. All beliefs have causes, but a distinction must be drawn between 1, ordinary causes, and 2, a special kind of cause called a reason. Causes are mindless events which can produce other results than belief. Reasons arise from axioms and inferences and affect only beliefs. Bulverism tries to show that the other man has causes and not reasons, and that we have reasons and not causes. A belief which can be accounted for entirely in terms of causes is worthless. This principle must not be abandoned when we consider the beliefs which are the basis of others. Our knowledge depends on our certainty about axioms and inferences. If these are the result of causes, then there is no possibility of knowledge. Either we can know nothing, or thought has reasons only and no causes. So this amounts to an argument in favor of objectivity versus subjectivity. And obviously, Lewis is seeing in 1941 that the world is tending in the opposite direction, to make everything subjective and nothing objectively true. So in this postmodern era, which wasn't even a word invented yet when Lewis wrote this, we can see the fruits of this tendency as it developed over the next generation after Lewis died into the 1970s. I wanted to put a related issue in about faith in faith, or faith in reason, if you like. Faith in reason without a foundation under reason, because reason by itself, as Lewis clearly says here, is not sufficient, unless you assume that God has invented reason to give us adequate or even helpful insights into the universe he created. So it's a faith in reason, if it's not grounded upon a theistical foundation, is obviously fallacious. And that seems to be Lewis's point, not just in this essay, but in many other essays he wrote in several of his books. C.T. Russell, the founder of the Watchtower, what was his ultimate faith in? I discovered in my research upon leaving the Watchtower that Russell's faith ultimately was not in Scripture, not even in God, but in his own powers of reason. So I'll put in a link to several videos we did on that, the first of which is linked on the screen. The little God of the Watchtower compared to the Jehovah of Scripture.